This truck cab, it's getting closer and closer to being done here. I got a little bit more to go, kind of three bigger spots I need to address still. Right now I'm working on the roof. I've just wet sanded it down and it revealed the last of the dents and bumps and whatever I need to fix up there. I have inside this rain trough area where there's rust up the top edge at the firewall, and the seam sealer's gone bad in there, so I gotta pick out the seam sealer and probably hand sand everywhere in there, which is definitely no fun with all these sharp edges everywhere. And then the last spot, not so bad, but I gotta go around the back window and the door frames, and there's some paint peeling off there and only some minor little rust. But otherwise, it's coming pretty good. Got a lot done. So here, I'll show you what my roof looks like and what I got going on up there. So we got lots of colors up here because this roof was really bad. In the corners over here and over here, underneath where it's white, is areas that I had to do a fair bit of Bondo because of bad rust and dents. And the gray spots are spots that I've spot primed because of rust and have to blend them back in. So we can see some areas like this, I got more sanding to do. And that gray epoxy primer takes really long to sand back down. Over here, I have a bump in my front edge that I want to make my front edge pretty nice because that's easy to see. And there's a dent that's bondoed up here. So this dent caused this bump. So I gotta maybe knock it down just a tiny bit or fill it all up. Probably maybe fill it up and out wider each way to blend that all the way in. Then a little bit over here, this is a Bondo starting to show. So that can do a little bit more sanding down. You can see the different in the paint there where the sanding didn't touch it. That's a low spot. We got a spot up here where the corrosion was bad and there's little pits and a couple of them reveal themselves, so I've sanded that back down. Have blending to do in this area, which was also a badly pitted area, and then the back window edge and all the top edge up here. So lots of work to go on that. In this little rain trough area, you can see the rust behind the sealer, rust at the back wall. Over here, it's hard to see, but way up top there, it's peeling the paint pretty bad. And then we have the bottom to clean out. Over here, see some holes rusted through, more to pick out. This spot I'm not gonna enjoy doing. And then I looked at some of my newer cabs, 1995 or 6 cabs, and in here, instead of using the seam sealer like that, they got more like a non-drying window sealant. So I'm gonna try that instead of doing what obviously didn't work here in the first place. So I've gone around, I went with 220 grit, which is still pretty smooth. Hopefully that's enough that the Bondo will stick to it good, because I don't really want to put like 80 grit scratches in there and have to fill them all back up. I'll test it somewhere and then we'll see if we got to go up a higher grit or not. Wow, this Bondo I got, it's super creamy stuff, so I'm sure it's gonna get in the scratches of that 220 just fine. A little more up there. And make sure I spread it nice and wide, because I don't want to have to add more if I don't got it. Always sucks adding more because you didn't do enough the first time. Sands off easy enough. Okay. It's all hardened up pretty nicely here. And this stuff sands pretty quickly with I got 120 here on my electric sander. I got all the spots all the way around the roof sanded like this. It's about 80% of the way sanded. And now I'm going to switch to 220 and hand sand the rest of this so that I don't over sand it. I can see my hump is starting to be visible, so I'm not very far off. That's my first layer of sanding. I went around with 220 on my little sanding block here. Nice hard block, so it makes it all nice and flat. And I went around and got all my spots. So now, we'll make sure it's nice and clean. I'll probably wipe it down with the little wax and grease remover or some tiny bit of solvent on a rag. Just make sure I get all that dust off of there really good. And then I'm going to spray it with my self-etching high build primer all-in-one stuff. Give her a spray and sand it with 400 and blend it all into the rest of the roof. Coming along well. I sprayed her first with the black etching primer. It's a sandable primer. And then the white is a 1K high build filler primer to mark where I gotta go back and double over everything. And look what happened. I heard that this could happen. You get bleed through from using the marker on your paint, but I never seen it. So hopefully when I go around and sand all the white off and the big old mist of white up there, I also sand off where it bled through. But it'll smooth out really well, and we'll be able to see what the surface actually look like. Come take a look how this roof turned out. I just finished wet sanding it with 400. You can really see the shine across there since I got the door open. Some spots look like they might be a mark in there, but it's actually like over here, that one I think. It's actually just a different paint reflecting differently. We're really, really smooth. It's leveled out good. I got a little more to do in this thicker area. Maybe you can tell there. And I think over here, maybe there. Just a little tiny bit more sanding to level that out. And my back edge here, it's come really good. You can't tell, can't notice anything easily. I mean, it was all dented all along. Now very, very much better. I was looking her over, and there, I don't know if we can get it to reflect, but right here, I got a low spot. We'll see if I'm able to sand that down or if I gotta build it back up. Hopefully just sand it down. I've gone over this front and added filler primer and resanded it down 2 or 3 more times to get some of them really small spots out of there. There was another one over here that I did. And then that front lip's looking pretty good. It's ready for a final sanding. We sanded out all the marks up here. And I found one more spot that I had to do some more Bondo on the back here. And I hit it with my electric sander. I used 120 this time to get a little more grip in there. And then rough sanded it with 80. Just hit it with 220 so the filler primer should fill the scratches. And we're going to give her a spray, blend that in, and I think I'm going to be happy with the roof. A spray of the etch primer really shows all the scratches in the surface from doing that repair. But we'll go with a spray of high build filler primer, and it should be able to fill them in. And 2 coats of high build filler primer. Then we'll sand that down and touch it up if we got to. It's coming along here. I just pulled the door hinges off. I didn't want to because I know it's going to be a little bit hard to realign the door around there. But there's just all that corrosion behind there. They had to come off. So they're sprayed with rust converter and ready to get finished cleaning up now. And I went around with my seam sealer, and I have like a caulking style seam sealer is what I was using. From the factory, they do it, you can't see much there a little bit, but they brush it on. And I still have more spots to get, and I don't really like how I got like divots in there where stuff's gonna get stuck no matter what. So I'm probably gonna get a brushable style one and give it a good brush over everything. I sprayed the black primer is like an etch primer, and then the gray primer was a sealer primer. Sprayed that underneath to seal the paint, the metal up and everything as best as I could. And now, yep, just gonna stay at it. I'm gonna get the door hinges area here finished up, and I'm gonna go around and get all 4 of these corners and give it a trim. Probably something like that with my grinder. This center cover here for the transmission, I'm going to be taking this off, and I cut the piece out of the floor that goes right there from one with a low hump, because my red interior that I'm going to be putting in, I need a low hump in the center, not the high hump. Time to get the part I've been looking the least forward to, which is inside here, up at these edges, and the rust holes that are over there. You got to deal with that stuff. So when it rains, the water don't go right down in the carpet and rot it out. But I pulled the windshield wiper motor off and the assembly in here. I'm going to get lucky. The little die grinder, it can fit and get up in there. Get a lot of the work done with this thing, and I'm going to get at her here. I got it pretty good in here. All the surface rust on there cleaned up. Can only do so good in the crack. I couldn't get right in there, but got what I could. Same surface rust gone. Top edge. can't see, but I got the flakes off. Compared to what it used to be, it's way better than what it used to be. You can see. And then I did all that with this Chinese green Scotch-Brite thing. I hit it with the wire wheel on that little die grinder first. But that'll do. I got that hole. And little hole over there to take care of. I'm going to fill them with fiberglass Bondo. Don't forget about that rust converter. Lots of that stuff. Oh yeah, I got her in there. And we'll let that cure, wipe up any extra residue, maybe scuff it a little bit before we throw the Bondo on, and away we go. I got the Bondo in there. I put it wherever the seam sealer was missing, and I think right over here somewhere is where there was a little hole in there. Also, there was another hole over here. I'm going to go back and I'll sand off all the rough spots of it, because it'll be too smooth for the paint to stick once it's all cured, and I don't want them little pointy fiberglass strands sticking out and making stuff get snagged up in there. It's got to go and flow right down and out the end. I got all the dust cleaned off. The garage is turned into a paint booth. We got everything prepped all the way around. We got the seam sealer done. It was a little bit tricky up there around the little rain trough. It doesn't look the best, but hopefully with the paint on there it'll be fine. It'll cover it. But we're well prepped. Still a couple dings back there. I'm not gonna worry about that area. Just I did everything on the outside where you mostly look is all good. We got some fans going behind there to get the fumes out. Fresh air window. And yeah, she's ready to go. See the seam sealer all around. All slopped on up there just like before. Back there. Yeah, she's ready to go. We're gonna get some paint on her. Well, take a look. Here's our first coat. This is the coat of sealer primer, epoxy sealer primer. And it went pretty good. We're nice and smooth for the most part. It went a little bit heavier back here. You can see the orange peel. A little heavier than I wanted. Then we got a little dust speck there. Nice and clean down there. I saw in here dog hair there and a dog hair here, and I scratched a little bit with my fingernail trying to touch it, so I gotta let that dry a little bit more. But up on the roof here, the fan was set wrong. I didn't adjust it right away, but those lines, you won't be able to see them after top coating. This side, same thing. A little bit of orange peel because I went a little heavier than I should have back here, and I think there was this piece of dust. And that was about all I saw around here. Nice up the pillar. I don't like right there the way the seam sealer is, so I'm going to fix that before doing my paint job, my top coat anyways. And yeah, the firewall all very nice. So next step, just wait for this to harden up a little bit, sand off those couple dust spots, and then spray the color. Repair the seam sealer, then spray the color. It's time. The paint, the white paint on there has been drying for about an hour. It's the third coat on there, so that's all I'm doing. On the second coat, I had to go back and do some repairing. I had to let it dry overnight and go and wet sand some little dust marks out because the farmer must have did something and he got a bunch of dust in it. But now we're gonna go check her out. The third coat, an hour, it should be nice and tack free, a little bit hard, nothing else should get stuck in it. So looks like I still got some of that same kind of dust in there, or whatever it is. It's something weird. So here's what we got. Looks really nice from here. I got like a good texture and everything. This could even be something that's in the paint, but will it focus enough to see them? See little speckles on it? They're like orange. And they're kind of everywhere. Oh, we gotta run. There is way less of those little whatever they are compared to the first time after the second coat. Driver's side here looks to be really good. Not much, but there is little speckles in it. But that's still pretty good. Pretty good for in the garage. I'm happy with it. There's not much dust back across the back wall. It's mostly on this corner. And I think I figured out what happened is this light right here. I bonked my head on it most likely and knocked that dust off into the paint job there. That'll do it to get this cab out of my garage. That paint job, we'll say it's like a 85%, something like that. It's pretty good. Probably the smoothest finish that I've gotten out of any, and that's due to me sanding before doing the last coat, which I really like there. And before she's all done, this cab's gonna get two-tone across the top and the bottom, just the roof though, and the bottom, and then we'll probably finish it with a clear coat and everything, but that'll be when it's all together and there's stuff lined up. For now, that's good. That's a nice looking cab to get out and keep on with the project here. So I'm gonna let the paint dry and I'll get this out of here and we'll see what I do next. If I go prepping the frame or if I go prepping more body parts. Not quite sure yet, but check in, and there will be more on this 88 F-150 here. So see you later.